Welcome to the Church of the Sacred Synthesis weekly conclave. Today, the topic is the hero's dose, and the subtopic under the hero's dose. The hero's dose is when we get to talk about just whatever's coming forward or whatever has been interesting or coming up over the past few days or weeks or something that you've submitted to us. So this week, the hero's dose is so adequately titled. And we're going to talk about a heroic dose and like the hero's journey along that path and what that looks like. So, thank you for joining. My name is Benjamin Moore, and I'm joined with Carla. And so
Hi.
thank you all for tuning in. And and before we begin, I'd like to bring some news forward. So we have coming up on October 22nd. I'll let Carla can speak on this. We have book club. Do you have anything with the title of the book or what we're going to be talking about?
Well, the book club, the book is May Cause Miracles by Gabrielle Bernstein. She's just awesome. And the book, I just kind of started reading it and was like, "Ooh, this is really good," and I would like to share this. So anyway, that's how the book club kind of was born. It's a 40-day. You do a thing. You do sort of like a meditation, affirmation thing every day, and then weekly we'll meet and sort of go over all the revelations and things that we've had together.
Awesome. And that's the same time every week. Is that on what the starts the
Wednesday,
22nd?
22nd, and then it'll be every Wednesday at 7 to 8.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, so
History.
if you're able, please tune in to that. That's going to be a very transformational journey. Sounds like it.
I think so.
Rock and roll. And then, so in addition to that, we have on November 23rd will be our next monthly light wand ceremony. So we'll send the information out around that and get the platform set so that way all of you who haven't received yet the information will begin to receive that. So just keep an eye out in your email for all that, and then you can check the events page. It'll be up there as well. Without further ado, hero's dose. What does that mean? What does the hero's dose mean? I did a little bit of digging just to kind of brush up, but the first that I thought of in the top of my head was Terence McKenna, who used that phrase, as an example, and so that's really where it began in the research for me. Like I started looking up like who used that term, especially around psychedelics, and so he's coined that and basically says that a hero's dose he is taking 5 grams of dried psilocybin mushrooms and going into the dark.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know what he says is only by being overwhelmed by the experience can we be taught by it. So going into a place where there is this sensory overload of just information, and if you've worked with mushrooms, beautiful colors and sounds and all these things come through sometimes like in a flood, and this energetic overwhelm can lead to states of awe and sort of breaking the dualistic nature of how humans interact with like 3D life. And so being able to exist outside of that just like can be very, very transformational. So yeah, have you ever worked in that level, like with that high a dosing?
Yeah, I mean, um, I have with psilocybin. With
Yeah.
methoxin, more of going up and up and up. It was more of that kind of thing where it wasn't taken all at the same time. So I'm not sure if it
Okay,
counts.
right in. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of went up, and I don't even remember really how much it ended up being. It was just a very beautiful experience, but very energetic.
I see.
But with psilocybin, it's
Yeah.
just such a I forgot what the question was, but yeah, it's just such a heavy experience.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that later, but
Yeah, no. The question was your experience with like heroes doses, even with mushrooms, like
yeah,
whatever it would be. So I think
it
since we're talking about psilocybin, like let's go down that path
okay.
first.
Yeah, that for me is very, like, I'll just kind of sort of it looks like me laying down, and just sort of going on a journey to myself, but it's very energetic and there's lots of movement, and I don't necessarily know, that I'm moving. You can't really tell you're moving
Right.
in the journey itself. You're kinda, so in that kind of a high dose like that, there's so much coming up.
Mhm.
And so that's what I've felt at higher doses is so much just coming up, and, like, it's just a lot of work.
Sure, it can be.
It's
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
option.
I'll tell a little anecdote. I remember when I started journeying with mushrooms specifically, well, this is what led me into like 5-MeO and other medicines. But mushrooms specifically, what I noticed was I would get this almost like a pummeling of information, and it would so overwhelm my visual cortex that it would almost break it, like break my ability to perceive the way I think I should perceive. It's like we as humans, like we hold these structures in our mind. When you say the word bike, or you say the word whatever, like your mind can create structure around that without even seeing it with your eyes. And this was such a pummeling of my sensory experience that it sort of like broke, and I had to go into this like state of wonderment where I didn't have any of the knowledge. It was just this shapes and space. And what had happened, what I noticed afterwards, was that I had shifted how I saw everything. Nothing, things sort of the anthropomorphic view that I have on things, like the like the how things are made, shifted, shifted my understanding quite a bit, and to the point where I was able to start seeing myself, this what we would call a human, as something more and different, and as these things were ongoing, I started learning that I had more and more control over myself and my choices and actions. Whereas before, I was like, a lot of things are habitual. A lot of things are created by teachings and trainings. Well, learning that when we can go into these places and just basically destroy the pattern, and we can make new patterns, can be very useful, very helpful, to help us shift out of maybe some of the things that aren't serving us any longer.
Yeah, I mean, like, I relate to all of those things. Another big thing for me was, like, everybody talks about ego death, right?
Right.
It's this big old thing. It's basically what you just said, it's just in a different way. It's like you just sort of like all of the things that you thought you were, or all of those things sort of shatter. And
Hmm.
it's like you have to go through this kind of like confusion stage and integration for sure. That's just one of the things that comes with this a big dose like that is some sort of integration that like what even just happened? What
Sure.
came up?
That beckons the idea around safety, right? And when we thinking about getting to a state of consciousness where essentially everything's your wakeful consciousness is off, so you're in this expanded state with the mind, and and consciousness is just floating. The body needs to be very cared for, and so it's so important to have a very very deep dive, to have someone that's either there or in the vicinity that can hold space for you, right? I think I've when I started this journey, I mean, I didn't have someone there, like I wasn't being facilitated, but there was someone in the house where I was like, hey, I'm going deep, like I'm taking 5 grams of these mushrooms, so lock the door, and unless I'm screaming, just leave me to my vices. And I had these experiences, but having someone there, it provided the safety that I needed to go deep. And so oftentimes, when, especially when I'm like, if I'm working with people who have not had great facilitation, that need support afterwards, oftentimes it can come through as fear can manifest into the experience if you don't have support, and then all these different like cascades of emotions can come forward and make it what they call quote unquote a bad trip. And of course, the growth comes on the other side of that, where you're like, okay, I was alone, I made it, it's great. However, it brings a lot of risk into the process, and that's something that I think is, in this day and age, we should be mitigating risk as much as possible. I'm using some like military speak, but that way we can accomplish what we desire, but also with safety. It's not just for us, for you, but it's for everyone, right? So
Everyone, the person facilitating and everything. Like if you're
yeah,
doing it alone, the making sure that they have somebody in the house is a great idea. However, if you're using a facilitator, just make sure that that person is safe or those people are safe, because you're not going to really even know what's happening to your body. It may end up being a sexual experience that you don't even really know.
right,
It happens. It happens. I
right,
mean, so whatever, like you have to be very, what, who knows what traumas come up. There's all
right.
kinds of traumas. So it can look like anything. And so, but you don't even know it's really happening until the after. It's like, oh, I did all these things and all this is happening.
That's right.
And
So,
so,
so thinking about that, what are great ways? So we do, like here at the church, we offer microdosing. We offer 5-MeO through a few different mediums to connect with source, and you can work with it and titrate up to be what we would call a hero's dose, right? You can go as deep as you desire. So if considering your background and working with individuals, like what are tips that you would recommend uh,
mm,
as as far as approaching a hero's dose versus a microdose?
of of our sacrament.
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah.
or mushroom. I mean, so like as an experience, right? Because if you're thinking about a hero dose, we're gonna go and like ego dissolution. So
So
how
I
would
would,
we prepare for that experience?
yeah, I'm going to say this first of all. This is not me giving advice. I'm not a doctor or any of those kind of
Right.
things. I've just facilitated many ceremonies
Yeah.
and
So just
done
yeah.
many.
So anecdotal stuff.
Yeah. So, I would do 2 grams of psilocybin and then do maybe a gram after that, or maybe 2 and 2, and then a gram, a gram, and a gram, if I was gonna do it like that. But if
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a heroic dose, I'm gonna just do the whole thing at one time, and it would just probably be 5 grams for me, because for me, I don't need a lot. I'm just very connected to the medicine. Also, with solriamfetol, I love doing the titrating up. Like I like to take a half of a microdose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like to take like a half of a microdose, and then even um yeah, and then just take a little bit, maybe take the other half of the capsule later, and then a little bit more and a little bit more. But I make sure that I'm in the right environment. That's the other thing, the right environment. It's not just the right people. So if I know I'm going to take that much solriamfetol, I know it's going to give me more energy, even though I'm not going to, I'll still be able to do things and be present. It's going to give me energy, so I need to be outside in the right environment. Um, with 5-MeO, that's another one that's a beautiful titrate, like, with
Yeah.
the low dose that we provide. It's like, what a beautiful way to get to know the sacrament and get to know the spirit before you really work with it in a full way, because there are ceremonial doses that you can
That's right.
partake in, and all of that, but
Yeah.
we do it in a very low way so that you can work up to what you need.
That's right. Yeah, and microdosing provides such a beautiful way to sort of integrate the insights as we dose up into the bigger, more expansive states. So definitely, these things work. I would say, and actually notice some topics that have been being shared around different media platforms of like heroic dose or microdosing, like these two things, and I honestly believe they go hand in hand. Like this is like a thinking about maintenance, like going in for like a massive overhaul and then doing maintenance and maintaining this machine to work at the highest potential possible for our desires. And as a
Mhm.
human being, we have such power to manifest what we desire in our life. And sometimes using the tools of nature can help catalyze those things. So thinking about like like heroic dose of mushrooms or 5-MeO DMT to, we can say that to completely shatter the path that one's on, and if that path, what what I notice in the individuals that I work with is they have oftentimes had this high up tempo of life, maybe very successful, but created a lot of things and a lot of patterns that are actually harmful to them. And so, how can we break those and begin anew, but also maintaining some of the things that are useful, like the things that make you successful. We don't want to erase those things, right? So it's using these higher doses of medicine or sacraments to smash out, like cut away at these old heavy densities that may not serve, but there are lessons there. So we can see them, we can understand them, learn from them, and then allow them to fade away, right? And then take those tools in our toolbox and carry them forward into our desires, into our life. So there's a lot of usefulness, and this I like to likens my consciousness, how I think about things, to the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, right? He talks about like slaying the dragon, like, and what is the dragon? Like, you're the dragon. You slay yourself. And so to me, we are the biggest tool we have for ourselves. And there's like all these books we can read, all these different ways we can learn. But if we don't get out of our own way, our ego is creating these obstacles for us because it wants to play with us. Then it hinders our progress. And if you just want to hang on the beach and like swing and everything's cool, that's great. You're there. You've already done it. There's nothing to overcome or change. But if you're someone who in your life you have desires, you have pursuits that you would like to follow that require certain efforts or certain patternings, using yourself to catalyze that experience, to bring that into your life. I would recommend that. I would say, right? I'd be like, uh, I want what I want. I don't want to be limited by my hangups or things that I used to do. Right.
Limited consciousness. Like,
Right. So, how do I augment that? How do I make myself better? And I think that's the curiosity that we have across the board. Like, what do we want for ourselves in life? And I think all of us, that whoever, even anyone watching, like, thinks about, like, what do I want for myself in my life? And if I'm not getting it, how can I shift the patterning, shift the path to get what I want, but also feel how I want? If I want to make a car, you obviously have to learn all about that. Like, I want to build all this stuff. So it's all the same, except this is all about us and ourself and our path. Um, so, yeah.
I love that. Like the way that I love how you talk. Yeah, I relate to all of those things, and I believe that we shift that. I know that 5 years ago I wasn't the same person I am today, and it's through these sacraments, it's through these experiences. And I know that I did keep the things that were right because they aligned. I
Yeah.
believe. I believe. But that's something I never asked myself. I'm like, because I did, like, totally change person. Like, that's really what happens to you. Um, so yeah, and I feel like in order to do that, like for myself, I had to go through different ceremonies and really get into like a devotion with all of it, nature mostly, like, and the sacraments just all helped connect me to all those things, the fire, all of those things. So um
Beautiful.
and that was microdosing, and the regular ceremonial doses always help because it clears out the stuff that needs to go right now.
That's right.
It's like, and then those the heroic doses, it's like all of it. It's like, let's
Yeah,
just
the big dose is like, it's like knocking all the dust out of the filter. It's like cleaning it out, cleaning it
yeah.
out. So, I mean, I guess that's the challenge, but also the fun part of this is like everybody has their own idea of what's going to help them, and we can just speak from our own experience. And it's beautiful when you have individuals who have taken that leap and gone deep enough to be able to come back and say that there are places that we can go in consciousness and actually connect with a deeper ability, a deeper truth and wisdom that is available here on this, like, surface level plane, that can provide so much. Uh, Man, like I wish I could even. I think the words, distilling the words down is very difficult because it's a knowing, like a connection to the soul. And when you know yourself so deeply, when you've connected with yourself so deeply, then every other choice and decision in life is like effortless. She's like, oh, okay, this is just what's happening. But it's not, it becomes, I don't know, it's like almost like the cosmic joke. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not that
fun.
big a deal. It's not that big a deal. It's colors and lights and beauty. And
Mhm.
it's feeling. It's like feeling.
Yeah,
And it's not so hard. We don't we it doesn't serve us to make these things so overcomplicated, and we get so tied into all these different meanings and all these different things. If we go in and connect with our soul, there's no words there, right? I can tell you that like a lot of mushroom journeys where I've taken a lot of medicine, my vision, like words, become illegible. There's no words anymore, right? Letters basically change shape. They become like these Greek looking things. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't need to read. They don't just go away, they change their shape and they become a different shape.
it's
And
not necessary.
yeah, that teaches me that words are just, we're gonna go off a
They're just
tangent.
shapes.
Words are just, it's like art. They're
Yeah.
like they're art, and we just make sounds with them. So there's so many reminders in a deep dive experience. So I'll talk a little about like ego. You brought up earlier ego death, and I'm a very big believer that just like anything in the cycles, like the death equals equals birth, right? It creates this continuum or loop. And I think that it's really a beautiful opportunity to give yourself the opportunity to be reborn. you
Mhm.
know like you go to church and you get the baptism, you're like, oh, okay, I'm reborn. You get baptized, and that's a beautiful blessing and beautiful intention. So in that way, I think this is speaks a lot to that literal experience of that, of going in and dying before you die. The Eleusinian Mysteries spoke deeply about this practice in the book. The Immortality Key brings it forward, which is a great read if you haven't read it. But like during that time, it was like philosophers would go and um, essentially take these. I mean, not just philosophers, everyone, but philosophers were the ones that wrote about it. Um, they'd go through these ceremonies with these priestesses and drink uh, a hero's dose of something and die
Mm. Oh,
before yeah, they wouldn't really die, but their ego, everything would turn off and they would just
gotcha.
basically reset, and they would have conquered death. And that's where the power of words come from. These ancients who were unafraid to go. When you peer into the void and you dive in, when you come back, wow. Wow, right? And so that's the invitation here, I think, for all of us, is that we can conceptualize it all we want, but the invitation is for us all to experience that, is to dive in. And what I recommend, if you're considering doing this, if you're watching this, of course, like reaching out to a friend. There are some resources that can uh, enable safety in you for if you're doing this alone, which I don't really recommend. But there's a place like Fireside, which they have trip check-in, where you can have them actually check in on you during your experience. But you know, um, try and find someone that can actually sit with you. That's going to provide a lot of safety if you need your handheld. It's happened to me several times where I'm in like Crystal Place. I'm like, hey, I need my handheld. I'm still here,
Mhm.
and that you know um,
Just to ground you
that's very
back.
helpful. Yeah. So um,
Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5-MeO
yeah, please.
higher
Say
higher
something.
dose because, like, what we're talking about with, uh, a lot with the ego death and all that, I feel like that was my baptism, and that was my point, of my first time of my first piece of ego death, I guess, um, was the first Bufos or the first 5-MeO ceremony I did, and it was the complete shutdown, right? It was like complete
Mm,
shutdown, of everything, and then I just came back of this blank thing, right? So for me, that's what that was because it was just like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't
I
believe in
see.
the same God. all the things at one time happened. Yeah. Yeah, it was really hard for a little while. So sometimes it can be a little it's not always, and that's where a good facilitator comes in, or a friend that you can talk to, that somebody that you can talk to that sort of knows a little bit about what you're going through. 'Cause
Absolutely.
yeah, it can be.
That speaks to that safety aspect, right? Of working with
Mm.
someone you trust. Yeah, 5-MeO, we'll just note because we facilitate that here. It's like that is a very unique and specific approach. So I think we talked a little about mushrooms,
Mm.
and with mushrooms, you almost go comatose, like in the body just relaxes, right? Now, with 5-MeO, when you go into a deeper experience, it can often liberate the body. And so, this is a great opportunity. Thank you for bringing this up about speaking about safety in container with working with 5-MeO DMT. And so, microdoses and like how we do the ceremony flow for our Sunday, our monthly ceremonies, like working with it in the micro medium dose is it's a wonderful approach and doesn't really require um, a sitter or a facilitator to be present. Now, if you start getting into higher doses where um, you're completely going into a non-dual state of awareness, just evaporating. It's a good idea to have someone present to just ensure your safety. And so I want to make sure we're communicating certain things going forward, and providing some harm reduction around these approaches, because I care about you and
Mm.
I don't want you to be harmed. And so I think it's important and wise for just to think always about your safety, always thinking about anything can harm you. You drink a pot of coffee and go down the highway and mind. So, but this speaks to a higher place of just being aware of your humanity, and that we are like flawed. We're not in this bag of blood and water and bones and muscle. It's like we can be injured. So care for yourself, and then you can go on these big journeys, and we can have a great experience connecting with beyond places beyond our comprehension. And when we bring that wisdom back, we can share with each other. And my hope is let's raise the vibe. Like, let's bring in joy and laughter and kindness. And that takes bravery and courage. And that takes going to places like the places that we'll say the hero's dose, the higher doses of these plants. They're here for us. Like, literally, they're like, eat me. I'm here. I taste good, and I'm gonna grow. Every time you have cattle, we're gonna grow, so you can take these and remember. That's my belief. And the same thing with all these other things. These toads are hopping around. They're like, take me. I have a little bit of extra something for you. Take me in, and I'm gonna help you remember. Help you remember you. And when you remember you, you can come forward for humanity by being yourself. And that's the best gift you can give. That's the best gift you can give. I know I'm going on a little bit of a,
Yeah, but that's so good. It's almost like it could have been its
oh,
own
yeah. Well,
conclave.
thank you for being so patient. I had surgery yesterday and for a hernia. So I'm doing my best to like navigate all that stuff. And it's been really an honor. I just wanted to come on here to share and chat with you. Is there anything else? Is there anything you can think
Well,
of that we didn't cover, Carla? Because I'm sure I went like,
one more thing
yeah,
is what you could do to get through a heroic dose or a higher dose alone. So if
yes,
you are alone, the easiest thing, the things that you want to remember to do it are the things like we've talked about before, like breathing,
mm,
relaxing into the experience, whatever the experience is. Entities may come in, pieces of your own psyche, like, not anything
wow,
outside of you, just
mhm,
pieces of yourself that you may have to look at and sort of breathe through and realize that it's not a scary thing, it's just a piece
mm,
of you that you have to look at, so there's different aspects of this that can make the journey easier.
yeah.
Um,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, and thank you so much for reminding me. We've done so much around a lot of these topics. So this is a great invitation for, if you're thinking about going deep,
Yeah.
go back and consume some of the stuff we've talked about in the previous conclaves, which can help you set up your ceremony space, create safety, create an altar, all these different aspects to really complete this. And yeah, wow. Yeah, and then it's perfect. Maybe. And
I
we're
think
always here. We're available. So if you have questions, just email us at the info@thesacredsynthesis.com. You can write, I think you can write comments on the bottom of this. Should be able to.
you can.
Yeah, so comment if you have things you want to discuss, or if you have things that you like us to improve on or change, please. Feedback is how we grow, and we want to continue to serve and bring forward our highest and best. And your help is very valued. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I think I feel very complete.
I feel
Um,
complete. I think we
yeah,
went over everything we needed to.
great.
I
Thank
got
you.
it.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining for that piece of this conversation. There's many more conversations coming forward around dosing and medicines and entities and all sorts of stuff. So stay tuned, and we look forward to having you back on here and then continue on this ride.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, have a great night.
all right, have
You
a
too.
great night.